Hey geeks, Akshay this side, and welcome to another session of experience of being an SDE at Geeks for Geeks. So, as you just saw an intro video on Elite Batch, so we have an Elite Batch entrance test on 11th of September from 6 to 8:30 p.m. And the rest of the details, like from that test, 100 candidates will be selected, out of which uh, there will be interviews, and 50 people will be given a chance to go through a 6 month learning period, and then a 6 months internship, and then also a permanent job opportunity at Geeks for Geeks. So in that line of thought, in that context, we bring you this Elite Batch Specials webinar, where we are bringing the guest name is Nitin Kumar. He is working as a software engineer at Geeksforgeeks right now. He will tell his experience, how it is to be here, and what skills are required, and how was his interview process. So it's my pleasure to invite him. But before that, let me see some lovely comments, because uh, people greet, and it's really lovely to see that. Good evening, Hira. Good evening, Harsh. Thank you. Good evening, Ravi. Thanks for commenting, guys. Keep the session engaging. After I ask my questions to Nitin, then we'll jump onto the comment section and we'll ask your doubts. We'll pick up your doubts as well. So 21 people have joined us. Many more will join. So let's start the session by inviting Nitin to the stream. Hey Nitin, how are you?
Hi Akshay.
Great. So Nitin, I told them a bit about you, not much. I just told that you
Mhm.
are a software engineer here. But why don't you give us a little introduction about yourself, and then maybe I can ask more questions.
Yeah, sure. So, hi guys, myself Nitin Kumar. So, I graduated from Maharaja Agrasen Institute of Technology in 2021, and since then I'm working with Geeksforgeeks as a full-time SDE role. And before that, I was an intern here for 6 months, and then I get converted into full-time. I've also worked with companies such as Innovator and other startups. And
Hmm.
in my college year, I used to do competitive programming. So I was also qualified for ACM ICPC. I'm a 5 star in Code Chef and expert in Code Forces. And I wanted to share this knowledge with other people too. So that's why since the second year, I'm working as a teaching assistant in various coding coachings like Pep Coding and Geek for Geeks itself. There I help hundreds, thousands of students from first year to graduated students. And as far as the development is concerned, I'm a web development guy. I'm a backend developer, use tech stacks such as Node.js and Django. I think that's it.
Okay. Okay. Let's come to the skills and knowledge required for an SDE role. Okay. So, what's your take on that? Like, what did you particularly you did, and also what you
Mhm.
experienced while working? You know.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I will specifically talk about the skills required in the Geek for Geeks. Okay, so we basically focus on three skills. First is your DSA and Go, and we don't expect you to be an expert in coding. Competitive master. You should be familiar with the basic of data structure and algorithm. Your foundation should be strong. If this is enough, you are
Okay.
good to go. Then second comes your database knowledge, because Geeksforgeeks handle millions of users' data. So that's why we and the data structure here, the queries are very complex. So we expect you to be familiar with the basics of data structure algorithm, and if you are good at it, it will be a plus point. Second comes and the foremost, third and the foremost important part is your web development skills. Your basic web development skills, or I won't say web development. Your basic development skills should be strong, because we also have roles for Android developers, right? So you should be familiar with what is API, how internet works, what's the basic of networking, how you should write code in production, how should you do testing, and all these things. So if you these three things are good in your profile, then you're good.
Okay. Okay. So, tell us about your experience of being an ST at Geeks for Geeks, Nathan.
Okay. So my experience in
About
Geeks for
the
Geeks
work
has
culture.
been, sorry.
A little about the culture also, the environment.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, sure. So my experience in Geek for Geeks has been really amazing, especially the culture part. The culture here is very amazing. The people are very friendly, kind, and very helpful. whenever you need help or on something. Because when I joined Geek for Geeks, I wasn't very familiar with tech stack that we generally use in Geek for Geeks, that is Django and PHP. I didn't code in PHP, so I was having hard time, but my seniors and my mentors helped me a lot for this.
Mm.
So the work culture here is really amazing, and I'm saying this after working with a company which is known for its friendly work culture. And I found the work culture of Geek for Geeks way more friendlier than there. The
Okay,
and other
that's
thing
good.
that I would say is there the leave policy in Geek for Geeks. It's really amazing. And if when you're sick and if when you want a formal leave too, you don't have to ask permission for the manager. You just have to inform and put the mail for it. And many other companies, very big companies like Amazon and other Google, etc., they don't provide these things. So because of this, my social life is also maintained. So I get time to spend with my family and my friends too.
So there's
So
a work-life balance, is what you're saying,
yes,
basically.
the work life balance is amazing here.
Okay.
And the most important thing is, uh, while in a meeting when we discuss about the microprocess and the projects that we implement in the Geek for Geeks, you get to participate on it and you get to put your ideas in the meeting, and your ideas will be taken very seriously. So I have since the starting 2 months of my internship, I was uh, giving ideas to the projects, and I was actually
Mm.
uh, working on it. So that's what a developer want. You want to develop something which can be used by millions of users, and you have want to be the major part of it. So that's what we give in Geek for Geeks. So because of this, the personal growth of uh, your personal growth will be very steep here.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Nitin, for answering that question. And my next question to you is, did you do any projects in your college, and how did it help you in your placement?
Okay. Yes, I did many projects in my college days, and I knew that if I join a company, I will have to work. I might have to work on a different tech stack. So I didn't stuck with a specific tech stack. Let's say Node.js and Django. I explored all of them one by one. I created small project on Django and then moved to React, and then created a small project so that I will be familiar with how this tech stack work and how it is different than Django, how Node.js is different than Django, what's the advantage of Django, what's the advantage of React, etc. So I worked with tech stacks such as Phaser 3, where I created a game which you can play with your voice. So I did speech recognition in it, and I have worked with mainly I made project in Node.js, but I also worked in Django and React Electron.js and React apps too. And those projects really helped me in the interview process, because I had a lot of projects to discuss with the interviewer, right? And when I discuss it, they get the idea that I have actually worked on those project, and
Mm.
get the upper hand in the beginning of the interview. And also this project helped me in the internship too internship too, because as I said, I worked in totally new framework when I joined Geek for Geeks. And as I was already familiar with working different tech stacks, so I didn't had too much difficulty say switching a framework. So I was very adaptive to different framework, so that's why I was able to perform very good in internship.
Okay. Okay, great. So basically, projects do have a lot of value.
Yes.
So, what was your interview preparation like for an SDA role at Geeksforgeeks? Like, how many rounds were
Okay.
there, and what was asked? How did you prepare?
Okay. Sure. So the HR contact me on the LinkedIn. So I didn't give
Okay.
any, hiring contest, or I didn't apply for it. They directly approached me in the LinkedIn and asked me that we have a opportunity for SD intern role. Are you interested? I said yes, and they scheduled the interview the next day. So the first round was a DSA round, and at that time I was pretty good at DSA, and I was also
Mm.
preparing for other interviews too. So I didn't had to prepare a lot for that. And the interview was very smooth too. They asked me just two questions, and the level of those questions were easy to medium, so I didn't have much difficulty solving those. And I solved the first interview was scheduled the next day, and then I get the call from HR that you have cleared this round, and the next round will be tomorrow. and it will be related to dev, where we ask you things about development and DBMS. So for that I had to prepare. So I Google refresh my theoretical parts all night, and then gave the interview next day. So in that interview they asked me the basics of web development and the project I have worked on, and they asked me to create the schema for the database or the table that they had designed, and some basic queries. And
Okay.
that was it for the interview. There was just 2 rounds, these 2 rounds.
No HR on was there?
Yeah, HR round was there, but we generally don't include HR round in the interview process, right? HR round generally means you're already
No,
selected.
we do because it's important at some level. But if you can also talk about that, that's not an issue.
Yeah. So then the next day HR called me, and that he said that you have selected, and the interview, or if you can, when you can join us, and this will be a step and etc. thing, these things. So it just
Okay, so
took
basic questions,
five to
not
ten
deep.
minutes. Yeah, it wasn't very
Okay.
lengthy, and the interview process very fast. So in just 2 days, my interview process was completed.
Okay, great. Uh, how did you prepare? Like, how much time did you devote to the whole preparation process? Was it like, you know, you were in college, directly from college,
Hmm.
you went into this job, right?
Hmm.
So how did you prepare while you were in college? How much time did you?
Okay. Okay. So I will start from the basic. In the first year, I didn't have any guidance, so I, I tried many stacks. Like I tried Android, AI, etc., etc., and I wasn't able to do any good in it. So I wasted my time using those tech stacks. But in the second year, I get help from my mentors and much guidance. My network get improved a lot. So I get to know that for internship and SD roles in a the big company, you have to be good at TSLO. So since then, I start working on my algorithm parts and started computer programming from the second year. So from the second year, I was very from the second year end, I was good enough in DSLGO, at least for the interview process. So that's why in the third year, I start working on my development skills. Created many projects and explore the tech stacks. And the fourth year, I just focus on applying and preparing for the interview. And to prepare for the interview, I give mock text with my friends, with my seniors, and some persons that were already working as a SD in the companies.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Anything else you want to add into this, or should I move on to the next question?
Interview process. I can explain a little bit about the interview process in Geek for Geeks, how the
Okay.
interview process has been, and what's the steps and how you can apply for it. So, if you applied for the SD role, or let it be intern role too. So now we have divided it into 2 parts. First is for those people who are good in DS and Algo, in competitive programming, and the second part is for those people who are good in competitive program, not so good in competitive programming, but are better in web development, right, and in development parts. So what happened is we have divided these 2 parts. So in part one, there will be 3 rounds. Both the parts there will be 3 rounds. In part one, we will talk about DSL, DSA. So in first round will be about your DSA, and there we will ask you questions from basic to medium.
Hmm.
And the second round will be on advanced DSA. So the level of question difficulty level of the question will increase here. It will be
Hmm.
medium to hard, and if you clear it, then if needed, there will be a third round, which is a bar raiser round, which will only happen if you didn't perform very well, or we are not sure whether we should select you or not, right? So if you're good in computer programming and DSLGO, you can choose this path and give the DSA round only, because DSA is the major, is an important skill that are required in the software engineering. And the second path is for those which are good in development. So first round will be a DBMS round, where we will ask you to create schema and basic query of DBMS, and check your development skills. And after that, their second round will be a role fit round. The tech stack that we use in Geek for Geeks is currently Django and React and PHP.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we will check your skills and project and see whether you will be able to fit these roles, whether you'll be able to work on Django and React, right? So we will ask you question about this. And the third round will be a bar raiser round that will be needed only if we are not sure whether we should select or not. So yeah, that's it.
Okay. Okay. Great. Great, Nathan. My last question to you is: any preparation tip you want to share with the audience? Any particular tip which you thought that helped you a lot, and also it can be related to, I always tell, time management and pressure management also. Like
Mm-hmm.
uh, there's a lot of different kinds of pressures when you are in the interview and before that also. So
Yes,
anything
yes.
that, yeah.
Yeah, I would like to encounter the pressure part first. So
Okay.
I have taken many interview in the Geeks for Geeks itself too. I have taken around like 20 to 30 interviews, and I've seen candidates being very nervous while giving the interview. So first,
Hmm.
I think I want to clear is the interview process, not the test process. It's a two-way thing, right? So you don't have to be too nervous about it. And it happened with me when I was giving my first interview. To overcome this situation, you should try mock interview with your friends, with your seniors. I would suggest trying mock interview with your seniors because their knowledge will be greater than your, and they will be more experienced, so that they will be able to give you a much good feedback over your performance, right? So if you have done 5 to 7 mock interviews, and after that you are giving the interview, you will be surely more confident in the interview. And the interview see these things too. And apart the technical skills, I would suggest, if you are giving a DSA round, so don't just focus on solving the coding problem. Focus on how you're, because we see as an interviewer, I see how the user is, how the candidate is, designing its, writing its code, whether the code is indented or not, how it is designing the approach, whether just start coding, or first he design that, first he calculate in his mind, then how he will proceed, and then he write go to the code. And how is he writing the code, whether the code is wet or dry code, whether he is repeating his code approaches in the code or not. And uh, how is naming the variables, how is naming the functions. All these things will be reviewed by your interviewer. So it's not that if I interviewer ask you two question and you are able to give the answer to both those two questions, you will be get selected. No, the interview will check your logic building skills and your programming skill, how you're writing the code, whether you're using comments or not. So in that scenario, these things matter more than just solving the problem. But of course, solving the problem is first thing that you should do.
Okay. So Nitin, that was it from my side. Let's go to the comments and let's pick up some questions. Okay.
Okay.
So you let me know which one do you want to go. I would not suggest you to share stipends and salaries. I think we should avoid that.
Stipend and salary is a good in gig for gig, I would say that.
Yeah,
It's
but
not,
okay.
yeah, as
Not
for
the
a
exact
startup.
number. Also, yeah.
Yeah, I won't share the exact number obviously because it's very different from the
Yeah,
different skills.
of course, yeah.
Hmm. But it will be sufficient.
Okay. Which question do you want to take?
So there is Harsh Kumar who has asked, those who are awaiting result for 2021 can also apply. Yes, you can also apply, and your we will also consider you. So uh, first of all, are you talking about the light batch or general SD role?
I think he's talking about general. Elite
Okay,
batch test
even.
is on 11th. Like it's on Saturday, day after tomorrow,
Mhm.
6 to 8:30. Yeah.
Yes,
So
I
that's
think you can also apply for elite batch and as well as for SD role in general. So we
okay.
don't check these things.
Which question?
How to apply for SD role, sir? There is Ayush Shukla who has asked how to apply for SD role. So
Hmm.
generally, what happen is you can ask the SDs for the referrals, right? Though this is the first approach that you can go to, and we will review your resume, and if it's good, we will directly share it with the manager, and then we if it's good, then we will proceed with the interview. Second, you can reach out to our HRs in the LinkedIn. and send your resume to them, and then if your resume is good, they can initiate the interview process. And the third is, you can always you should keep an eye on the career page, because we keep on updating it, and we are really opening roles for SD intern and SD2. So in July we perform a hiring contest for SD intern, and in August we did a hiring contest for SD role, and for intern plus FD2. So you can check our career page, where we will update things about related to this.
Okay. Next question.
Have a look. Okay, there is Ritesh Kumar who's saying, and I'm learning Java full stack, Angular and Spring. What about it? Have I learned PHP and Django? Okay. I think he's asking, should I be experienced in PHP and Django? No, you shouldn't be already be familiar with PHP and Django. If you're not, if you're familiar with it, it's a plus point. But if you're not, that's not a negative thing. But you should be familiar with the development process, how you should write the code, and how you should basic of web development, basic of production code, etc. things. So we will uh, check this thing in the interview process, and if you clear it, you are good to go. I myself wasn't very familiar with PHP. I didn't even write a single line of code in PHP when I joined Geeksforgeeks. Although I was somewhat familiar with Django, but uh, it wasn't much at that time. So I started from zero. But as I said, the your mentor that you will be assigned to are very friendly and helping, so they will help you learn this framework and tech stack, so you can learn this during your internship and role here.
Okay. Let's take next question. We can take few more, four, five
Yeah,
more.
sure. There is one guy which has, as a fresher, every company ask for result. So after some good experience, result required to apply in MNCs and startup companies. It depends from person to person. Some companies, your resume should be good. Your resume should be good enough to fit for the role that they are looking for. For example, I'm looking for a backend developer, so I need this skill set in your resume. So this skill set should be there in your resume. It doesn't matter whether you are an ICPC or you're GSOPer or not. So the result there doesn't matter. And I'm not sure which result you are talking about. I think it's college result. So there is also, they also add a limited minimum criteria for that too. CGPA, your CGPA should be greater than this. If it's greater than that, so you're good to go. So that depend on the job description. They will write you what role or what candidate they are looking for, and if your resume and your profile fits with it, you can apply for it, whether it's for the fresher or it's for experience SDE.
Okay.
There's Rehan. Rehan has asked how to apply for intern. So the process is same. You can reach out to the HR in LinkedIn, or you can check the career page, and if there is a hiring contest, you can check that. And we mainly hire through hiring process. So the your first priority should be keeping and track on the career page.
And
And
also elite batch can also be done.
yeah, there's an also opportunity to go for a lead page. And elite batch is not for just intern; it's also for the full time too. So you can also apply for that.
The details, if you if you want to check out the details, the link is in the YouTube description.
Hmm. How can internship? So there is Ashwini who has asked how to prepare for DSA and algo round. So Ashwini, your foundation should be strong, and I would say that your foundation include what's the basic implementation of data structure algorithms, how the STL that we use in the competitive programming or while coding, how they work, like how the vector work, how the periodic queue is implemented. These things should be your first priority. Your DSA data structure should be clear, and after that you can move on to the algorithm part. And to master algorithm, you have to practice, you have to solve problem, and it will only get, you will only get good in algorithm building when you start practicing and when you solve a specific questions of number of questions. And also depend how you are tackling those questions. Your approach should be learnable. That means that you should not just solve this and move on to the next question. You should know that why, how I solve this question, and what approach did I use, what other approach I can use to solve this question. And if there are three approach, let's say three approach to solve this problem, how they are different and in what scenario we can use it. For example, in the interview we asked simple questions, and play with the constraint. Let's say the size is greater, you have to reduce the space, you have to reduce the time complexity. So in this way, uh, knowing different approaches to solve a problem will be very helpful to you. And that's what we look for a candidate while taking the interview. So to build the algorithm building part, you should solve problems, and also see how which problem you can solve with how many approach, and how this approach is different from this, and what are its con and pros.
Okay.
Okay. And let's move to the next question. There is Ritik who has asked to building how to improve logic building. I think we have tackled this. For logic building, you should, solve the problems. And for the logic building, you are not required to be a 5 star or expert, or code chef, expert in code forces. You don't require to do complete programming. General or solving problem in Geeksforgeeks will work too. Because I've taken the interview of a candidate master, and he wasn't able to give the answer to the basics of the DSA questions. He didn't know how the vector is implemented, how the periodic is implemented. So even if you're an expert and you don't know the basic implementation of STL, so that's a negative point.
Mhm.
Yes, your foundation should be strong. After that comes the logic part. Taking time while writing code is negative point. Taking long time while writing a code is negative pointer or not. So that also depend how you're you know managing or you're controlling the interview. As I said, you should give mock interview, so that while giving the real interview you should be able to control the conversation. Some interviewer just look for the explanation, how you're explaining the code, whether you're how you're approaching the code from the root brute force approach to the most optimal approach, right? So they look for it. And some coders, how you're writing the code, whether they are intended or not, whether how you are naming the question, how you are naming the variables. So, and if you're following this paradigm, you're naming it correctly, your code is intended, and your code is has comments too. So even if you take time, uh, it will not matter. And if you're taking too much time, your interviewer will give you hint that you're taking too much time, or can we move to the other question, or you should code it fast, right? So that depend on the time constraint that you're given in. You should also not take too much time while giving your explanation or explaining your approach. So that depend on interview to interview. And to improve this, you should give mock interviews to be able to control the conversation during an interview.
Okay.
Internship, I'm in third year. And there's Junaid, he has asked how to apply for internship. I'm in third year. So third year students can also apply for a light batch. They're also eligible. And you can also you can also choose other approaches that I've mentioned. You can approach us in LinkedIn and check our career page. Taking time and writing for his interviews and there is Sandeep who has asked how to get internship in good companies and startup. So, Sandeep, the tech skills, or the skills that I've mentioned earlier that are required for SDE role in Geek for Gigs are required everywhere else too. So you should be familiar with data structure algorithm. That's the main part, because data structure algorithm is required while writing production code and readable code for the development, right? So your data structure algorithm should be good. At least the foundation should be good enough. And then the next thing depend on your the company that you're looking for and the career path that you want to work on. If you're looking for Android developer role and a web developer role, you should work on the web skills. Nowadays there are interviews differently happening for them too. So in which they didn't ask DSA related questions. Like ourselves, we have given two paths for the DSA rounds and also for the developers. So you can work on that too. And if you want to approach some very big company like say Amazon and this, then you should work on the uh, DSA and algorithm skills. There is Sanket who has asked you, you said that you see comments and variable name in the candidate code. What else do you see? So I also check how he's explaining the approach, how he's went from the brute force approach to the optimal approach. And sometimes the candidate in the first attempt gave me the most optimal approach, and which has the less time complexity. So in that scenario I change the constraint. I let allow it to use algorithm with much bigger time complexity, but I reduce the space constraint, so he won't be able to use the space, or the space size is greater. Or I change the input data types, so this way he has to come with other approach to, and I just see how he's solving the questions. And while he write the code, I see how is he writing the code, how he's approaching the approach, how, whether he's thinking the approach in first in the mind and then coding, or he's directly getting the code and then writing some code, and he's stuck somewhere and then deleting that code again and then writing that code again. So this count as a negative point. I also look for whether he's covering all the corner cases or not. Most of the time, the fresher, most of the in the fashion time, in the fresher, but they didn't cover all the corner cases. So I tell them to run this on multiple test cases and see whether they are able to cover all the test cases or not. So I see first whether he is able to figure out that corner case by himself or not, and if he should be able to cover that test cases. So these are the things that I look in while interview a candidate. There are other things too, but I think these are the main points.
Okay, let's take a second last question. Then we'll take a last one. Akash is
Okay.
asking, how is the lead batch internship different from normal internship which you got? I don't think there's a difference. You also got a 6 month internship, right?
Yes, but in the light batch, you will be given a 6 month period of learning period too, where you will
Learning.
just learn. Yeah. So for 6 months, you will just learn about the tech stacks or basic of this, basic of development, DSL Go. We have mentioned all those things that you will learn in those 6 period in the article link that are attached in the description. You can look into that, and after that, you will
He's a
work
2018
other.
pass out, so he can also apply, right?
Can 2028 pass out apply for it? No. In the article it is written that it's for just 2021 pass out and 2022 pass out.
Oh,
So for the
okay.
first year, for third year student, and for the fourth year students.
Okay. Okay, no issues. But anyways, you were saying something for anybody who wants to know. Elite batch internship. Before elite batch internship, there's also a 6 month learning period, right? And as you said that the article is in the YouTube description, so everything has been mentioned there how it is.
Hmm.
So anybody can check it out. Yeah. So
Yes,
let's take the last. Yeah, please carry on, please.
there is also a video about light batch too. You can also check that if you want more information or more clarification.
Okay.
So
Uh,
let's tackle the last question. He
yes,
Navneet Kumar. He has asked how many questions we have to do to crack internship. I have solved 20 questions at Geek for Geeks. Is
200,
that it? Yeah,
200.
200, 200 questions in Geek for Geeks. Is that sufficient? So Navdeep, you're going in the wrong direction. The number of questions that you solve is not that what matter. As I said, you while solving a question, you should uh, check how which approach we should use, and how there are four different approach to solve this method. which method we should use and when we should use that. What's the difference between this approach and this approach? And if there is an algorithm, so how that algorithm can be used in solving other problems too, and we what's the application of that approach algorithm. So while solving question, you should be more focused on the learning part, not on the numbering part, that how many question you are solving. The thing that because of this get promoted, this is the number questions are getting promoting because the questions get repeat over the interview, right? So now many people think that solving this many question and you will be by solving this many questions you will be able to crack it because you will be already familiar with that questions, right? But the SDs are also smart, and they know, they will be able to tell whether you already know the question or not, right? And no matter how you move the conversation, and if the SG is good, if your interviewer is good, he will give you a constraint, and he will give you his own question too. I've asked many interviewers um, different questions, or I asked about the implementation of STL, the small thing, while and asking the major problem. So in between that, in so during the interview he will be able to tell whether you really know the DSL Go, or you are just solve the 20 question, and you know your foundation is not strong. So I would say, if you have time, you should choose a more learnable approach rather than that. And it's also depend on time. If you are fourth year and you just don't have many time to prepare for interview, then you should go for the you know solving the problems.
Okay. Thank you, Nitin, for asking so many questions and taking up all the doubts, and also telling us about your interview preparation and also how it is right now for you working there. Uh,
Yes,
I'm sure it has been a good experience for you to coming
yes,
here.
it was a very interactive session.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Nitin, anything you want to say before you bid goodbye to the audience? Anything you want to tell them? You know.
There's not much, but I would say I've seen this thing too. The people are going for the solving a list for cracking a company. That I think is personally is very bad, and you should not do that. You should not follow that approach, because after joining a company, your learning will not end. Your journey will not end. It's the starting of the journey, right? You have to grow skills from there too. So if you just solve the question, then it will be very hard for you to grow from SD roles, right? And while working for SD or full time. So but if in your starting year, if you're a college student, you have many times. So if you choose this approach, you will be able to grow much better in the future. So that's the only thing I would like to share with the audience, because most of the audience will be in college here currently.
Yeah. Okay, Nitin. Thank you so much for joining us. Please take care and
Yes.
wish you good luck.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, Geek. So that was it. I hope you liked the session. And as I said, all the lead batch details and the entrance, the test, which is scheduled for 11 September, 6 to 8:30 p.m. All the links, both of the links are in the YouTube description. Please check it out. And take care, guys. Be safe. Keep learning. Keep growing. Akshay this side. Bye.